So I don't know why this has come up again. I'm almost positive it initially came out like a year, maybe even a couple of years ago, but it's resurfaced for some reason in the last couple of days. What I'm talking about is Will Smith and his wife Jada Pinkett Smith's open relationship, their open marriage. And there are a couple problems that I see with this here, and it's because there are a couple things with regard to this topic that I'm passionate about. Number one is words. Number two is family. So one, words have meanings, they have definitions, they have things that make up what something is. Once you strip something of what makes it what it is no longer that thing. Now it's something else, or maybe it's nothing, but it's definitely no longer that thing. A house has walls and has a roof. When you remove the roof and you remove the walls, it's no longer a house. You just now have some things lying around in the open. But it's not a house. Even if you say, well, what if someone's car is where they live? Okay, then that's different. The car is where they live. The car is not a house. Why? Because the car has four wheels, the car has a steering wheel, the car has seats, the car has a trunk, the car has an engine in it. Those things make up a car, not a house. So you wouldn't call the car a house because that's not what it is. A marriage, similarly, once you remove the components that make it what it is, it's no longer a marriage. So a marriage is a sacred relationship between one man, one woman, and God. And we've really, really devalued what a marriage actually is. We've turned it into simply a piece of paper that ties two people together to where they can file taxes together, they can share assets. But outside of that, that's pretty much what it is. I think in a lot of people's interpretation. But to go back to the words part, you can have a false interpretation or false understanding of something, but that doesn't mean that that's what that thing is now. Like if I were to say one day, let's just say I woke up and I thought this wall behind me was red. Because I believe it, I think it, I feel it. That's a false interpretation. That's a false understanding of what color that wall actually is. It's not red. Just because I think it doesn't mean it changes reality. Just because I think a marriage is this piece of paper that binds two people together in the eyes of the government so that we can share assets, that's not all that it is. I guess in some regard that plays a part in it, but that's definitely not the peak of what a marriage is. And I will say this though, for people who do have that understanding of a marriage, I totally get why they would say, nah, marriage isn't for me because I don't want to have to deal with that. If that's your understanding of marriage, then okay, I get that. That makes sense. But I'm here to say that that's not what a marriage is. And a marriage is also not just like this feeling thing. Like, oh, I feel like I want to spend my time, most of my time with you. And in Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith's circumstance, and also someone else. Or other people, plural. That's not a marriage, right? Just like the walls and the roof make up the house, exclusivity makes up a marriage. One man committing himself fully, sacrificing himself fully to one woman, and the woman reciprocating. That's a marriage. In order to glorify God and raise a family and children who also glorify God, that's a marriage. That's a marriage. Once you open the door and you say, well, me, you, and someone else, or me, you, and other people, no longer a marriage. Once you remove exclusivity, it's no longer a marriage. So open marriage, those two words are in stark contrast. A marriage is exclusive, it's closed. So you can't have open, closed. You can't have an open, closed relationship. That doesn't make sense. Family, number two. Super important to me, always has been since I was a kid. The responsibility of husband and wife are to constantly put the other before themselves. Just like we would say, any Christian would say, Jesus gave up himself for us. We are called to mirror that. I'm called to give up myself for my fiance is called to give herself up for me, for the betterment of each other, which betters our relationship and then better glorifies God. That has an effect, because when children see that, now there's a great example for the son of two parents to see, okay, here's what a man is supposed to do. Here's how a man is supposed to treat a woman. And for the daughter, here's what I'm supposed to look for in a man. And here's what I should avoid in a man. Remember the Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith, I think it's Red Table Talk, that first came out when she said she had an entanglement? If you watch Will Smith and you look at his reaction and you listen to his voice, there was no part of him that was okay with Jada Pinkett Smith cheating on him. Whatever word they wanted to call entanglement, she said she launched into an interaction, I think, with the guy that she cheated with. Again, you can't just throw out different words to change what you did. No, I'm sorry you cheated, and that happens. That happens. And in a marriage, that can happen. But to say that, our marriage is open and we're accepting of that kind of behavior from one another, we accept it from one another, that is so backwards. It's baffling. It's one thing to do something wrong and say, you know what, honey, I have something to tell you. I did this thing and it was so wrong of me, and I apologize. I'm so sorry. I'm going to spend, whatever I need to do to make it up to you. That's one thing, because that shows repentance. It shows guilt and confession, which is the guidance of a good conscience and a good heart. And then from the other end, it shows mercy, it shows forgiveness, it shows love, it shows compassion. In that kind of situation, okay, you can work past that kind of, entanglement. You can work past cheating as a married couple. But to simply sit back and say, we accept that kind of behavior from one another is so backwards to me. It makes no sense. None. Because it's not what a marriage is. A marriage is exclusive. One man, one woman, full commitment, sacrificing themselves for one another. And this is a problem that we have is so much in society. Constantly trying to redefine words. Again, I could have a false interpretation or false understanding of what something is that doesn't change what the thing is fundamentally. That wall is not red. The wall is not red. No matter how much I think it, how much I feel it, no matter how much I believe it, it's not red. A marriage, no matter how much I want it, no matter how much I want to be in a relationship with someone, I can't be in a marriage with someone and other people too. It's not a marriage. You can't just change definitions. You can't just change meanings. You can't strip components from something and that thing still remains that thing. You can't take the walls and the roof away from the house and still call it a house. You can't take the exclusivity, the commitment, the sacrifice from a marriage and still call it a marriage. That's my TED Talk. I hope that if you're watching this, you walk away with saying, you know what? There is something more to marriage than the signing of a paper. There is something more to marriage than this feeling that we have for one another, or that I'm supposed to have for my spouse. There's an action to it. There's a full 100% commitment to this other person, and they should reciprocate that to me. There is no such thing as an open marriage. You can't be open closed.